Okay, this is Park County, Colorado. This is an image that you're looking at right here of my FreedomSoft account. And I'll show you my numbers here. We were targeting 1 to 20 acres in Park County, Colorado. I don't recommend this to everybody because I was spending a lot of money on marketing for this campaign, right? And I was, this is a very competitive, it's the county south of all of the ski resorts in, what's that county called? Summit County, I believe, right? There's Breckenridge and Copper Mountain and all of that, and Vail is close by. So this is a county right south of that. And there's a lot of land for sale. There's a lot of activity, a lot of investors. And I thought, well, let's just do it anyway, because if I can make it work in any competitive county, then anybody else can, right? So you look at my stats here. I did 5,850 letters, which cost me about $4,800, $4,900. I generated 80 leads. And this is leads from texting and direct mail. We're going to talk about what Nick did for me with the texting. So I had a 1.4% response rate total. But if you looked at just direct mail, I was about a 0.8%, which is frankly really, really bad for vacant land. That's not good at all. That's what you get with houses. Usually I'm getting 3 to 4 times that with vacant land. But here's a really cool thing here. Of all of these 80 leads, 3 of them turned into deals. And of those 3, 2 came from the marketing that Nicholas did for me. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And if you look at these, I went into all of my leads here and I filtered out just the ones that came from text. And there's 32 of the 80 leads came from texting. All right. And so I thought, this is amazing. This is super cool. So what I did was I mailed my letters. I send a neutral letter that just says, hey, if you want to sell Mr. Jim Smith, if you want to sell your 2.6 acre lot in Park County, Colorado, please text or call this 24-hour recorded voicemail. And that phone number it's a FreedomSoft phone number. And this is all done inside of my, I call it the Joe McCall signature edition of FreedomSoft. Okay. And it all comes in here. It's custom built for my students for vacant land. And it comes in there, they leave a voicemail, then we send an offer. And so again, discouraged, like, oh my gosh. And I'm doing this in front of a bunch of people, Nick, like this is a big challenge case study thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I contacted you and I said, hey, can you help me? And let's just text these people that we sent the letters to. Yeah. And then pretty quickly I got double the leads that we got from the direct mail. Wow. And so it was really cool. And thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. No, that's great. That's actually news to me too. I'll never forget when your name popped up in my CRM, and I don't know if you remember, but I actually sent you a personal message.
Well, I was amazed because I started getting personal texts from Nick and then texts from the VAs. And I thought, oh man, if this is how they handle all of our customers, it'd be awesome. But here's the crazy thing. I've been referring you guys now to my students of the land course, and I'm getting compliments left and right from you guys. You're doing a great job. Appreciate it. And you do. Okay, so let's talk about what it is that you do.
Okay.
And why do you do it? Talk about your history. What were you doing before you started this business?
So, like you, I was actually in real estate education back then.
Okay.
And I worked for a very large company at the time. And I started off as their event coordinator, you'd probably call it. And I was just throwing the events for them all over the nation. After some time went by and my leadership skills shined naturally, I ended up catching a couple of promotions and I became an executive over the entire fulfillment on the education company. And back then, the main thing that they taught was direct mail. And this was 9 years ago, for the record, when direct mail was the main thing, if that makes sense. And what happened was we'd realized a lot of the students, it was a pain point for them. Direct mail was expensive and the results are lower. And this was single family. So as you mentioned earlier, I tell all my clients, if they're struggling in single family, you should check out some vacant land because it's a real easy win for us. But so back then they were spending a lot of money. Well, I wasn't an entrepreneur. I was just an executive trying to solve my clients' problems. And I was like, what's free? What's free? They need to pursue free stuff. And I realized that this was free. Everything that we do with this, other than the $70 a month we pay Verizon, is free. So I started teaching all phone strategies, manual text, manual call, do it all yourself. Way better than spending 3,000, especially if you don't have the 3,000 to spend, right?
Yeah.
So I came up with all these strategies, and it came from a good place in my heart. And what I realized was, with education, there needs to be lead generation as well. And the education is often just theory until we like put pen to paper, and now we're like, oh, I worked that lead, I know how that works. And so I realized getting them to leads was getting them in the game. And I didn't realize it then because I was so new to it. But me coming up with this solution for my clients back then, 3 years later, was going to set the foundation for me to create this amazing $1 million lead generation company. And I had no idea, it wasn't that clear then,
Yeah. Okay.
but it came clear now. And, to piece it together for, a couple of people too would be my dad. What we really do is we do all the hard work for you.
Yeah.
People say, what do we need to get started? And all I say is the zip codes and the money, and you don't have to figure anything out. You don't have to, which text messaging platform works best and which lists and skip tracing and should I figure out? And that stuff can snare you for weeks. And what I'd figured out is you come to me, I've already got it all figured out through my now 9 years experience in real estate. I've already know what works. And so we deploy all that for you. And it actually reminds me of what I used to do for my dad. I'm actually a really old millennial. I'm 37, so I think I'm one of the oldest millennials that exist. Computers came out when I was like 10. So it wasn't like super new to me. But I was the techie nerd in the house. And whenever my dad, you might be able to relate, bought a stereo. I don't know if you have kids now, Joe, but whenever he bought a stereo TV, he'd give it to me and he'd go, Nick, hook it up for me.
I do that with my son. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't know this, your son doesn't know this, but you're training him to be an entrepreneur right now. Because what I've learned is, now investors, instead of my dad bringing me stereos, investors bring me their lead generation problems. And I also fix those for them. And they don't have to think about it. Look, you go cook dinner, you go work out. When you come back, you're going to have leads in your email. And it was the same way for my dad when he wanted to watch his television or listen to his stereo. So we handle all the hard parts, and we want to fix that for you. On top of that, because I came from education, I've got a really big heart of a servant. We don't have contracts, we don't have commitments, we don't have setup fees. So those things that you might find in very often in other lead generation companies, I don't have any of that. And that's because I want people to powerfully choose me. I don't want them to have signed a contract 6 months ago and be around me because I got them stuck. So with us, every customer who's with us is purely optional. And that actually gives me a lot of pride as well.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So talk about, what is some of the marketing that you do for clients?
So our main strategies, our main services are cold calling and text messaging. Okay. We do a lot. After being in business for 6 years, I keep trying to come up with solutions to make investors happy, like add-ons. But our bread and butter is the cold calling and the text messaging. We can also pull lists and skip trace. I do know that your audience, I believe in most cases, use Priced. Yeah. Which, for the record, I highly recommend Priced if you're going to use my service. Their lists worked very well, and all of Joe's clients he brings are good. So I'm also not here when clients come to me to sell them everything I offer. I want them to bring to me whatever works best. And, so I'm a huge fan of the Priced recommendation that you offer. But what we do after that list is generated is we skip trace it, and we cold call it, and we text message it. Now, as a consumer, like Joe just got skip tracing and text messaging. You're also in full control with us. You can piece it together, or you can do it all as a combination whenever you use us.
All right. Now, in land specifically, and you can do this for land or houses, just to be clear with that, right? With land, when a lot of people send direct mail, most people send a blind offer, right? They just want to send offers and they only want to talk to people who get the offer and raise their hands.
Sure.
I prefer the neutral letter. I want as many leads to come in as possible. And I don't like sending just the same kind of similar, I don't like spending all the time up front to break down all of the different vacant lots into areas and come up with a price for each of those little areas. It's just maddening. Why not just send it to everybody? And then as the leads come in, you make the offer for them specifically. Yeah. All right. So when you're doing cold calling and texting, is it different when somebody wants to make the blind offer or just, hey, do you want to sell your land or do you want to sell your house? What do you guys do there?
So, my recommendation for blind offers, I don't want to use the phrase stay away from them, but I think as a part of the direct mail piece, it makes sense. You're setting their expectation and they're moving forward. But I agree with you, Joe. We want to leave this wide open, and it's our job here to work leads. And I get it. One of my biggest topics is leads are not served on a silver platter. And I know that's what we want. I can tell customers hire me and sometimes they think real estate's a slot machine. Hey, I hired Nick, cash, right? That's not how it works. And if I was to use the slot machine method to real estate, we use the slot machine breaks, and then we have to fix it. And then maybe we get a couple coins because every lead is going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort. All right. And so what we see for lead generation and what works best is exactly what you said, leaving it wide open. Do you own this 3-acre piece of property in Galveston County? Yes, I do. Wonderful. Have you ever considered selling that property before? Yes, I have. And then we ask 12 questions, and for land, because there's less, because land is simpler. One of the biggest perks of land, way less emotional, way less circumstantial, definitely a surefire win. So we ask, I think, 8 questions for land about, to answer, I think, Natalie's question from earlier about, is there legal access to the land? Is there any utilities on the land? Is it cleared? So the good news about land is there's not too much to probe on, but we ask all those and then we deliver it all to the client. Now they get all this info and then they can discern, like you were saying, what's going to happen best next.
That's interesting because I did it differently. I didn't want you to ask them a million questions. I just wanted them to know. I wanted to know, number one, hey, Jim, do you own this 4.6 acre lot in Park County, Colorado? Cool. Do you want to sell it? Do you want an offer? Have you thought about it? There's different ways you phrase each of these things, right?
Yeah. And you're talking. And so to be clear too, I was just describing our cold calling strategy.
Oh, you're cold calling.
Yeah. So in the text messaging, we follow your exact script for all of our clients.
Oh, good.
Yes. Yeah.
It works so well. Don't change it.
I don't recreate the wheel anywhere, but on the phone call, because there's more energy, we don't just want, yes, okay, click. We kind of want to romance them. So on the text, you're right. And we do follow your lead. On the call, since we're it's kind of a customer service play, the cold call, right? Yeah. And so we're kind of just showing up as a little more service oriented by asking those questions since we got them on the phone.
All right. So to texting though, one of the things I liked about it was it's just, hey, do you own this lot? Yeah, cool. Have you thought about selling it? Yeah, great. Exactly. What's your email address? We'll send you an offer.
Right.
That's
very
it.
Simple. Yeah.
Very simple. That's it. Now you at the time, just emailed me the lead and then my VA put that into FreedomSoft. But you can also just put that into whatever CRM
that's right.
He has, right?
So the best part about texting is it's very easy to work with forms. So anyone who wants to hire text, just send us over the web form into your CRM and we'll plug it right in there for you. Cold calling is a little different because there's a lot of automations that fire off. So cold calling, there's a couple more hoops to jump through, but we do still put those in your CRM as well.
Cool. So then that's the script for texting. Now, does anybody ever ask you to make blind cold offers on texting?
Some people will say, hey, so if you send me a sheet And in that spreadsheet is a column of the offer you want to make. We can do it, because it's all automated, for lack of a better term, with us. But if I was to give them my best advice, it would be to do it your way and then go into what I would call hand-to-hand combat with each lead, which is, hey, I got your letter. I'm going to get you an offer over. Tell me, how long have you owned the land for? Has it been in your family a long time? My real advice for all lead generators is to find the process at which that lead can fall in love with you the fastest. Okay. Now I know that land is an easier target, but I think if you really get them to like you, you're really going to get that deal for the best price possible. And if you can come up with a strategy that says, hey, I want to sell to, hey, I'm going to be your best friend for the next 10 minutes. And then on my next call, I'm probably going to make you an offer, or I'm going to email you that offer. And because I am a firm believer that when you chat with them and you show them you're a real person, that it's going to allow you to save probably double-digit percentages on your offer whenever they get to see that you're a real person.
Yeah, I want to show you guys one of the conversations here. I'm just picking one of these properties at random. And I'm trying to do it where I can hide their identity. That sounds weird. Hide their identity. Oh, here it is. Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, so I'm going to screenshot this and then gray out some of the area, some of the things. So let me do this and that. And then I'll delete. There we go. In his name. All right. So I'll share this with you guys in a minute, the conversation and how it came into me. But then when when you do cold calling, how does that conversation go? Can you walk through that again?
Yeah, so those conversations are, like I said, we really try to lead with customer service. Cold calling is the start of a relationship. What we've learned about people receiving cold calls is they take them very seriously, right? I think when someone gets a text message, and we can all probably attest because we all probably got a text from someone or something we didn't want to today. And when we get that, the first thing we think is, this isn't a real person. This is a robot. I'm probably getting scammed. Just it's natural. And it's because there's no rapport, there's no relationship. So on our cold call, we know all those things begin to exist. We're starting the relationship. So we go in, hey, yes, I was wondering if you owned a piece of land inside of Galveston, Texas. It's about 2 acres. Oh, yeah, I sure do. Oh, great. I thought that was you. All right. So I'm always wondering, have you ever considered selling before? And we like to word that perfectly, or for a reason, and that's because it is, have you ever considered selling before? It's not just, are you ready to sell right now? Because that answer is probably going to be no every time. And what we want to do is we want to like stick a wedge in the door, if you will, and start wedging our way in to that sale. So we ask that question, and you'd be almost, a lot of people, 32 people said yes on your campaign, for example. A lot of people say yes to that. And then we just hit them with a little bit more qualifying. Can we access it? I actually have it pulled up here in the background. So I'll make sure I don't butcher it. Give me just one sec.
While you're doing that, I'll show you the script that we used. This is the real one of the deals we got under contract.
Okay.
It was their name, Jim Bob. Do you own a 2.5 acre vacant lot near Hartselle? That's the city in Park County, Colorado. They responded, yes. Would you like an offer? Sure, if you're serious and if you are serious, have had lots of interest in it. Okay, great. What's your email address? I'll send you an offer today. Bam. That's it.
Bam.
That's it. And you send that to us. We will take that and put it into the FreedomSoft record so they can see that. But anyway.
Yeah, I love that. And and that is really how easy it is. And then on the cold calling, we try to confirm as much for you as possible. Uh-huh. Okay, we confirm. Is there a different phone number for them to be contacted on? And lead gen, we see all kinds of different things, right? We confirm what their name is. We ask them how many acres it is in total. And we ask them, is the land or lot mostly cleared? Are there any underground utilities? How's the access to the property? Is there legal or road access? Any structures on the property? We also ask them if it's okay to text them at this number. Everything we do with the customer service mind, right? We're not trying to be the pushy guy forcing them to like, hey, yeah, like everything is very customer service oriented, which helps you build a lot of rapport. And then we say, what is the best time for us to call back? Would it be okay to get an email to send our offer? And then it says, if we were to make an all cash offer in 48 hours, do you have a price point that would work for you? And then we have this question inspired by Ron LeGrand. Would you be open to receiving that full amount in monthly payments? Okay. Yeah, we've Ron LeGrand gave us that question about a month ago, and I've added that to. What a great question.
So yeah, that's what does that mean? In case you guys are wondering, it means buying a property on terms with owner financing or something like that. So repeat that question one more time.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and there's no better way to sum up a terms deal in one sentence than this question. This question is, after you ask them, you have to poise it in timing after you ask them how much they want for the property. Okay, so that way we know the number we're talking about, and then they say 100,000, and then you would say, would you be open to receiving that full amount in monthly payments? Really good question.
That's really good.
And just like everything else, I always say a creative finance deal is also built through a relationship. As a lead generator, I believe everything's built through a relationship. The main reason I'm here is because of our relationship, if you will. And so, I joke and I say, I wouldn't creative finance you $100 bicycle if I didn't like you. Right. And I think that when we think about that, we start realizing that, that silver platter statement I made earlier, even if it is creative financing and they say yes to that, your relationship with them is what's going to really take that to the next level.
Okay. What do you think produces better lead quality, cold calling or texting?
So quality, I feel like cold calling. And that's because of how serious the seller takes it. Right? The seller hangs up the phone and goes, hey, honey, someone called about buying our land. Like it's real for them. But when it's a text, they might not even tell anyone because they don't know if that's a real person yet or not. So here's why I actually recommend both. Like, just so everyone knows, your first campaign with me, I really recommend both. And that is so you see how they both work. And if they both work for you, you just got two new lead generation strategies. If one of them works, that's still a huge win. Let's drop the calling, drop the texting, do one or the other. And also, I've seen certain markets respond really well to calls and others respond really well to text. So what I've learned is what you probably did, Joe, was a great call, which is the more saturated the market, the better text response we have. And the reason why, and not better, but better than cold calling would be. And the reason why is because when they're being pelted on the phones, they're way less likely to answer that phone for the 50th time, for the 50th cold caller. But they will go, oh, someone wants to buy our property at so-and-so. And so we've learned in more saturated markets that texting is probably a better strategy to start with.
Interesting.
But the last thing I'll share is with land, we've also found that there's really not so much a such thing as a saturated market. Land really is a great resource right now. And, with single family houses, I can name 5 markets that you don't even want to go into if you're cold calling, and we've actually had people hire us for land in those markets. And at first I'm like, but just so you know, the stats too, they still get great results and they're able to move in these saturated single family markets. Like there's no saturation for the land.
Yeah, that's just incredible to me. So I was going to ask you that, how does cold calling and texting for land compared to houses overall?
Man, here's what I tell people. I have averages on my website. So if anyone goes to the site or sees that, I have lead averages on the site. And for land, I tell everyone expect 25 to 50% greater lead flow than if you were on single family.
That's crazy. It's
It's
phenomenal.
crazy.
This
It's
is one
huge.
of the biggest reasons why I love land so much. And I'm not even afraid to talk about it, because some people are like, "Oh, Joe, stop talking about it," because so many people are going to learn about it. Listen,
Doesn't matter.
there is so much land out there.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. There's over 3,000 counties. And I did a post on it on my Facebook wall about how many vacant lots there are. Now there are more houses than the number of vacant land lots, but the when you compare the number of investors that are going after land compared to the number of investors going after houses, it's just a huge difference.
And one other thing that happens too, that I'm sure that there's some philosophical name for this, and I'll just call it shiny object syndrome. But when there's a really shiny object like single family houses, people will step right over land because the shiny object is so bright. And I think land is a even greater niche because it really helps us pierce that issue with our clients. If they're struggling, I'm like, hey, check out land. And there's no struggles, there's no issues. And very often, even if they're used to single family, I'm like, it only gets easier because there's way less to talk about whenever you are pursuing land.
Well, yeah, and a big difference too is the seller is not attached to their property, to their vacant lot. It's vacant land. They haven't been there. And I like to pull lists where they bought it over 10 years ago. And it's like, they haven't been there in forever.
Yeah, creating that emotional attachment. Houses, what I've learned about houses is even if someone's house is run down or dilapidated and they want to sell, they feel out of integrity to even sell it because they feel like they've destroyed something. So, like you're saying, you don't have all that emotional attachment with land. And one of the biggest perks I give my clients, or biggest piece of advice, is focus on rural markets if you're going for single family houses. Well, the beauty of land is it attacks two high target areas. One is rural, two is land. And the other reason why land will never be too saturated is because I don't think real investors will do their homework to really find those rural markets. They're too busy thinking Atlanta, Houston, Phoenix, Los Angeles. They're not thinking those little towns in the middle of nowhere that are right outside of Orlando, Phoenix, or Houston, right? And that's I think is the other beauty. It's your market will take longer to be discovered overall.
Good. Let's talk about pricing, and I have some more questions for you too. And if people are interested in getting to work with you, if they go to my site, they'll get a 10% off?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. So if they use that site there, they'll gain access to us. Now,
which, by the way, is joemccall.com/lead mining.
Yeah.
joemccall.com/lead, LEAD mining, MINING. Okay, go ahead.
And then I also have a bonus for everybody. There is a coupon code that you can use at checkout. It's Joe McCall. It's his full name with no spaces in it. And what that coupon code will do is it will save you $1 on your purchase, and we will deliver 10% more. So for example, if you do the package that Joe did, for example, 5,000 text messages for $450, you will actually receive 5,500 text messages instead for the same $450 is basically how that coupon code will work.
I forgot how little that costs. So if I go to my calculator, $450 divided by 5,500 texts, that's 8.2 cents per text. Right. Yeah. You guys also skip traced for me.
Yeah.
How much did that cost? Do you remember?
So we charged, now if you have 5,000 records or more, which you did, we only charge 6 cents for 5,000 records or more. Below 5,000, it's 7 cents. So
it's 14.2 cents.
Yeah.
14.2 cents to skip trace and text. That's crazy. And for
Crazy.
a letter, to put that into perspective, for direct mail, you're doing really good if you can get a letter sent out the door with the list and the letter first class for under 85 cents.
Yeah.
85 cents. Now, I'm
Wow.
not saying, here's the thing you guys got to understand. I'm not saying that you should stop doing direct mail and only do texting and cold calling. You need to do them both. There's direct mail really works because there's a huge difference between the quality of a lead
Yeah.
that comes from a letter when they're calling you, it's, compared to the other way. So you have to do both. I'm really big and adamant on that.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd almost, if I were to even give some advice, my recommendation, if you want to do it in a sequence, as a lead generator, I like to call and text at the same time. But if you wanted to do it in a sequence, I would direct mail for your lowest hanging fruit leads first. They're the easiest closes, hand down, which is, I think is what you're saying, Joe.
Yeah.
And then text them and then call them. You had a student do that with us, Guillermo, and I'm pretty sure Guillermo got 72 leads on 7,500 text messages. And it was crazy. I'm not sure of his cold calling stats, but he did calling after that as well. And I think that's a great sequence because now you're pursuing leads by cost or ease. The cold calling or the direct mail is easiest, the text messaging next easiest, and the cold calling will probably require the most work. Yeah. However, because that relationship's there, I would assume you'd get the most profit as well from the cold call.
Amazing. So at about 5,000, it works out to be about 14 cents per skip trace and text. Okay. But what are the costs for cold calling?
For cold calling, I have two different teams. So one of the really cool things that I offer is I have Americans or Filipinos. And these are real Americans. I know we've all heard it before, expatriates that used to live in America that live in Mexico now cold calling. I don't do that. All of my Americans live on American soil. I pay them all $12 to $20 an hour, depending on how long they've been with me. But we have two different teams. And basically, the way it works is I do have several different packages, but if I was to break it down numerically, like you just did, cold calling at its most expensive form or the smallest package, which is the most expensive per dial, Americans is about 40 cents per dial, and Filipinos is about 20 cents per dial. And then if you buy, that's the smallest packages. If you go up to the bigger packages, the Americans drop down to about 33 cents. And then the foreign callers are exactly half. I believe that's 16 and a half cents per dial. So those kind of are our cadences.
Okay. What do you feel like is better, American or Filipinos?
Definitely Americans, especially for land. Land is, again, land hits a couple of great marks that work for Americans. Normally, if you're in like a metropolitan area like New Jersey, New York City, or Atlanta, I say, hey, send in the foreign callers, right? Those places are melting pots. They're probably saturated, so it doesn't matter if you have an American or a Filipino. But land is different because it's more rural. You're going to find people with different cultures, and they might not be as open to other cultures as well, might be the best way to word it. So you might be losing a lead on a foreign caller to a land investor because he probably is waving an American flag. He's probably out hunting hog. He's probably out, growing animals to feed his family. And those guys, they generally have a unique feeling about America. So that's why I really recommend doing the Americans for land specifically, but using the foreign team for those ultra saturated markets.
Talk about one of the biggest frustrations I've always had with cold calling is when the seller answers, there's that delay, and it feels like an eternity. It's really actually only 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah. But the first thing it triggers in my mind is here's another cold caller, because there's this really long silence, awkward silence delay at the beginning of that call. Yeah. Normally when you say hello, there's an immediate, hey, how you doing? But when it's cold calling, it's about a 1 or 2 second
Yeah.
pause there. So how do you avoid that?
So what we do, what ours is, we use call tools, just so everyone knows. It's not no trade secret. We do use version 1. Thank God they didn't discontinue version 1 for me because I like that a lot more.
Okay.
But it beeps whenever they pick up. But what I tell my team, see, I think here's the average mistake of the average cold caller who may not have as great as training as we do. It connects, it beeps, but that cold caller still waits for you to say hello again. What I train my team on is when that thing beeps, you imagine that's them saying hello. And you just pick it up. Don't wait to hear their voice in confirmation. Beep. Hey, what's up? This is Sherry with so and so. We roll right into it. What I've learned is when we wait, hello, hey, oh, hey, hi, yeah, hey, yeah. So sorry about that. It's that pause, I think, is what gets us. Our solution is as soon as it beeps, we start talking because we already know we lost that second and we're assuming that that is the hello that we missed.
Okay, interesting. And that should fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have any, our only complaint really is the abandoner problem with cold calling. And that's when you call multiple people at a time. So a triple line dialer calls 3 people,
Yeah.
right? 2 answer, but 1 gets hung up on,
Yeah.
And so that's really our only complaint. And we're actually in the process of turning down our dialers way down because, we used to be, so many people used to pick up the phone that were like, hey, let's call them all at 3 lines at a time. Okay. Now what we do is we actually just turned everything down to half as fast. So we're actually calling your leads at 1.5 times rather than a 3-line dialer, which means that we're hanging up on less and we're allowing more conversations to happen.
Okay, interesting. But just again, I'll go 1 or 2 more questions for you. If you guys are interested in talking to Nick, go to joemccall.com/lead mining, joemccall.com/lead mining. And there's a coupon code. Just use Joe McCall, no spaces, JOEMCCALL. You can also just, if you go to leadminingpros.com, make sure you use that coupon code Joe McCall to save 10%. And you've got a lot of different packages here. People can scroll through it, sign up. If you have questions, though, the cool thing about Nick's service is very simple to reach them. I mean, I was surprised how easy it was to call or text and get somebody to answer and get somebody to respond to your text. And it was very, very good.
Thank you. Yeah, I do. The phone number on the website is my cell phone. So, anyone who calls or texts that does go directly to me. I do provide all the customer service myself. I am looking at eventually, probably in a year or 2, hiring out for that. But for the last 5 years, I love dealing with all the customers myself. And it's generally much easier for me to handle them than an employee too at this point, but, we'll probably change that in the next year or so. But, in the meantime, you guys, you have me directly, even if you just want to call and ask questions. I love meeting clients as well. And if you tell me you're with Joe, I'll remind you of the coupon code. I saw you on the podcast. I'll make sure that you don't miss out on any opportunities.
Cool. Nice. All right. Let's talk about compliance. Tricky subject. How does it work? I don't know the answer to this thing. Sure. You ask 5 different people, you get 5 different opinions on it. What's your take on it?
Okay. So I know this is being recorded, but I'll say my take anyways. So the reality of being sued is if they cannot find you, they cannot hurt you. And so I think that is the most important piece here. Now, we do a bunch of things that also keep you safe. The phone number we text from is linked to my EIN. It's paid for and sponsored, and everyone knows what I'm doing with it. So that does apply some level of compliance for you. But what's most important that we do is we don't throw you under the bus. You never want to send a text message that says, hey, this is Nick with leadminingpros.com. You know why? Because I did do that, and I did get sued for that. And I did. This is a true story. I got cocky. I got a list, and I was like, let's start saying my name and my company's website address, and we're going to get all kinds of sales from this. Nope. not true. I got a letter in the mail like 3 weeks later with the screenshot of the text message I just sent out
Really?
saying that I'm being sued. And my real only problem with the phone number that texted them, that's not linked to me. But what's linked to me is that website. And so my advice to all investors, regardless of compliance or cold calls or text messages, don't put your name out there. Don't put your business name out there. Don't put your last name out there. You make sure that this is a lead before you go giving all that information. I don't know if anyone, I just watched one the other day. It was like one of those true crime TV shows where this guy's name is Slim and he murdered someone. Well, in the hood or on the streets, there's a reason why everyone goes by nicknames. Okay. And that's because when something does go down, they're like, who's Slim? And nobody knows who Slim is. Right. And, not that we're taking notes from the hood over here, but it's a very important distinction to understand that you're in control of how much liability you put out there. If you want to blast text messages with I won't even let you if you hire us. The beauty of us is I help ensure that you're protected.
Yeah.
Is one of our big benefits.
Yeah.
But the real solution here is.
Sorry, I lost my camera. I am still here.
Oh, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Yep.
Okay. I apologize. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try to switch cameras here if I can, but keep on talking.
You're good. But yeah, so the biggest way for you to be compliant is just for you to be protected right now.
Sure.
Don't be foolish. There are some cases where people this doesn't happen to any of my clients, but people are pretending to be a lead until you show up with the contract. Okay.
Yeah.
I have heard of that twice in 2022.
Wow.
Okay. And my real rebuttal there is that just be careful with the name you put out. We don't have to operate 100% as our company name. We don't have to give everybody our full name. I'm not saying be unethical, but I am saying don't leave yourself susceptible.
Yeah.
As well, and so that's kind of my spiel when it comes to compliance. And the other thing I'll say is, if somebody is threatening to sue you and they're being incredibly aggressive with you, in my honest opinion, it means they don't have anything. Okay. So when, if someone was to come in and actually do something wrong to me and I had them dead to rights, I don't have to scare them. Right? I don't have to employ scare. Oh man, I'm going to take your company. I'm going to file this with the city. Man, you're not going to be able to do like these litigators will say whatever they can to make you as scared as possible. But I can promise you, the more they're threatening you, the less they have on you. All right. It's not as easy to bring these cases to fruition as you would think. I mean, I'm under the impression that this case has to go in front of a judge and a judge has to go, okay, always taxpayer dollars on a text message. Okay. So all these things have to line up. So I will share a lot of these scare tactics. I wouldn't just bend over and fold just because you have someone threatening you either. Is my other piece of advice.
I guess we should leave this with get legal advice from a legal expert. We're not attorneys.
Right.
And if you do have a concern with this, some people would say it's a gray area. Some people say it's not, hey, don't do it. Some people would say it's not a big deal. It's worth the risk. We're just telling you, go get legal advice. You should talk to an attorney. And if they say don't do it, then don't do it.
Right. I like that.
So yeah, it's one of those things. I'm on the fence. I just don't know. I've talked to people that are fine with it as long as you comply and you do it the right way. If the person asks you to stop, or if they opt out, you have to opt them out, which Nick does.
And I think that's an important distinction, right? Not antagonizing.
Yeah.
I have clients that are like, will you send 2 text messages? No, I will not send. If they do not reply positively, I'm not texting them again. Yeah. And so I like where you're getting at, because we do things that we don't even realize that help keeping you, like we don't let you spam. We don't, because that's when someone's going to have a cross to bear. That's when someone's like, I'm going to make your life miserable now. But what we've learned, even on the cold calling, sometimes we cold call and they say they're on the do not call list. We say exactly this. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I will put you on our do not call list. We will never, ever call you again. We say that exact script every time. And then we actually put them on our do not call and we actually never call them again. And that's never been an issue for our clients. So I think whenever you do run into these people as well, don't fight fire with fire. Fold right up, apologize, never happen again. I'll remove you from my systems. Have a great day.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, I don't know what happened to my camera. I think I do know. I've plugged it into another little hub and I need to put it back to where it used to go into, directly into my computer. So my camera is out. Apologize for you guys watching. Maybe the podcast has gotten better. The video's better now because I'm not on it. But again, guys, if you're interested in talking to Nick, go to joemccall.com/lead mining, joemccall.com/lead mining. And Nick, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And any final words you want to say?
No, I'm glad to be here, Joe. I'm really honored. I've known your name forever, and I'm really thankful that you found me, and that you were happy with our service, and that you wanted to share this with your audience and your students. I just want to let you know that really means the world to me to trust us with that. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, man. All right, guys, we'll see y'all later. I am waving at the camera right now. I know you can't see it, but we'll see you guys later. Thanks again, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you.